Welcome to our Faith in Your Recovery podcast. Today's interview is live on Facebook and also YouTube. Feel free to get involved, participate with us. Send us a message, any question or comments you might have, and we'll do our best to get to those ASAP, if not sooner. Thank you.
Jesus didn't have a problem with people that's in the streets. He had a problem with religious people.
How can I help anybody when when I was not even able to help my own son?
I would never do that. And I became that in a matter of minutes when they took my pain pills away.
And I said, I'm not where I want to be, but thank God I'm not what I used to be.
This is Faith in Your Recovery. I am Randy Davis. Welcome to the battle. Hey, I know we sound trite with this because we say it every week, but we're excited to have you with us for this, for today's interview. And each time you tune in and turn on to our podcast, we hope we're making a difference in your life, having an impact, giving you some tools to work with. We try to vary our guests and our interview style, but we want to maintain that all things recovery effort, and I can assure you that's where we're at today. Our special guest coming to us tonight, Melissa Terry. Welcome, Melissa.
Hello.
Good to have you with us. Thanks for this opportunity, for taking the time out of your schedule. Melissa, let's begin. Introduce yourself to the folks. Let them know a little about you.
Well, I'm, as he said, Melissa. I live here in Anderson. I was in my addiction for over 20 years, and I will be 18 months clean in 8 days.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What was that addiction, Melissa? What was your main drug of choice, the one that had the greatest grip on you?
That would be opiates. Yeah, I have lupus, so I was started on a lot of pain medicines, and it was like that for about a decade. And then when the opioid crisis came and they pulled everyone's medicine, I was smart enough to know how to not be sick with withdrawal. So I went to the street and I began using heroin.
Okay, so you got into the opiates. That was your mainstay. How did it all begin? I know you just said you were
Right.
dealing with, with the illness. Was there any usage before that, or is that how it began for you?
For as far as an addiction, I would say that's definitely how it began for me. Um, Prior to that, I had dabbled in like cocaine with my ex-husband and some friends of ours and things like that. But as far as a real gripping addiction, it was definitely the opiates.
So that cocaine in the beginning was more recreational than you didn't have to have it at that time like you did with the opiates once you got into the addiction. Is
Yeah,
that accurate?
that's absolutely correct. Yes.
What was the lowest of moments, or one of the lowest of moments during your addiction, during that 20-year struggle?
Um, I would say for myself, when I got to like my rock bottom, um, I really didn't care if I lived or died. And I know that sounds really bad, but it's just the brutal honesty of it all.
How deep were you into the addiction? Was that near the end? Was that in the middle, early on?
It
When
was
was that approximately?
it was towards the end. I overdosed 6 times in 2 years. So, the very last overdose that I had, um, I was down for quite a while and I woke up at the hospital. They ask you those questions, what year is it? Who's the president? Things of that nature. And the first thing I thought when I opened my eyes was, why didn't you just let me die? Because I knew what I was getting ready to face again, yet again. Um, and then when I began to try to answer their questions, I knew what they were saying and I knew the proper answers, but all I could say was, "What do you mean?" And so then I went into terror, like, "Okay, you did it this time. You really messed yourself up." You know what I mean? So that was scary.
It had to be, you said like a 2-year period, 6 overdoses.
Yes.
Was that during that rock bottom time? Is that within that,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
okay?
Definitely. Yeah.
So when you started to think on all that was happening with you,
Mhm.
your experiences, the overdoses, that's when you felt the most futility, and you used the word scared.
Yeah, because it wasn't a lack of knowing that I needed to stop or even wanting to stop because I detoxed myself multiple times at home. I just couldn't sustain it.
Okay, what was it that made you want to live? You said you wondered why they saved you from it, that you
Yeah.
had just at that moment just as soon died
Yeah.
in your own mind, and,
Yeah.
understanding what was it that gave you life?
My family. I adore my children, my grandchildren, my mom, my sister. It was my family for sure.
How many children do you have?
I have 2 daughters. I had a baby in the middle that was stillborn, so I've had 3 children, but I have two daughters and 6 grandkids.
That's enough reason to want to live once we are able to think in that direction and
That's
think
right.
with their minds and hearts for certain. Very big incentive for
Yeah.
it. What? Who was it that first got through to you that your life, even if it's only for your kids and your grandkids and your family, was worth living? Who convinced you of that? Or how did that happen?
I mean, I guess I never really lost sight of any of that. I just had gotten to such a deep, dark place that I felt it was hopeless that I could never sustain sobriety. And to be honest with you, what ended up having to happen for me to be able to decide that I was done no matter what was going to jail.
Okay. How long of an incarceration period was that?
So I had 3 different county jails that I had to visit consecutively. So it was a course of 7 months straight. Just,
Okay.
I would go from one place to the other. When I finished a sentence, they would transfer me to the next.
Okay. So that was 7 months of incarceration, and that convinced you and proved you were going to end this one way or the other, either in a good way or not so good way, but you were done with the battle. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
All right. Uh, what what was the first positive step you remember taking toward recovery?
Well, when I was in jail, after I went through withdrawal and all of those horrible things, um, I began to draw closer to God because I know God, I love God, but in your addiction, you fall away from that.
So you had some type of relationship with God prior to the addiction, yes?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then during the addiction, sin keeps us away from God, and God draws us to Him during our sin,
Yes, he
and
does.
it becomes quite a conflict in your mind, your heart, and your spirit. You're telling yourself you're not worthy. God's saying yes, you are.
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
He finally, evidently, one way or the other, got through to you with that of the worthiness, even if it was only at that time as a parent or as a child.
Right.
So, okay. Uh, was there any way during that time that you believe somebody or something other than God could have reached you, could have convinced you, could have had the right words, or is there such a thing?
To be honest with you, I think that each person just has to get to their rock bottom, and they have to admit to themselves, that I can't keep doing it this way. And for me, God was the only way back up. When
Okay.
you're in your addiction, you have a problem. You a lot of times know you want to stop. You just either don't know how or you can't sustain that. So I needed his help.
What's the advice that you would give today to somebody who was where you were? They were at their low point. Was there anything to tell them other than talk to God, draw near to God?
Seek help from other people who have been through it, because there's a lot of support out there. Um, a lot of we feel like nobody knows exactly how we feel, when in essence, there's a lot of people who have been through it and they do know exactly how you feel.
What's the biggest lie you remember telling yourself during that time?
So for the longest time, I was a functioning addict. So for the longest time, I knew down deep that I had a problem, but I was still able to hold my job and do the bare essentials of life. And so I kept telling myself, it's not that bad.
You
It's not that bad.
you felt in control
Right.
when
Even
you
though
knew you weren't.
I knew down deep I wasn't. It took a while for me to be able to admit that to myself.
Was there anybody that was a positive role model, mentor, a positive relationship for you at that time?
Um, I have a great family. They love me a whole lot. And my mom has never, struggled with any type of addiction issues or things like that. My dad is an addict and he was not present for most of my life. So, I did know what was right. And, I would get encouragement from people for sure.
How do you maintain your sobriety, your recovery today? What
Well,
what works for you?
for me, a super close relationship with God is first and foremost. And, I stay connected to other great friends of mine that I've made along the way in recovery. We support one another. I have a great sponsor, meetings, things like that.
Do you have any personal rituals, positive habits that you push yourself to continue to do to keep you above the, you know, another fall or relapse?
Right. So I've learned a lot about myself through my time that I've been in recovery. I've had to kind of relearn who I am, and I've had to learn along the way, and then be able to see that I can handle things as they come. I don't need to self-medicate. I can do this. Taking time to um just kind of disconnect, and go through the thoughts in my head, and if something's bothering me, what do I need to do? How can I handle this? I've become a much more upbeat person than I ever was when I was in my addiction. I love every day of my life.
That's neat.
Yeah.
That's neat. Early on, I asked you to introduce yourself to our folks, and
Yeah.
you just got done talking about having to relearn who you were, what you were about, your potential.
Yeah.
Tell the folks who you are today.
Today. So today, I am first and foremost thankful to be here God saved me when I couldn't save myself. So I'm super thankful every day for that. Um, I try to be an upbeat, encouraging person. I try to help others as much as I can. I just have a really heart of giving.
Okay. Um, Tell the folks what you're doing with your life now professionally, because that plays very much into the story you're giving us right now. And I think they need to hear it.
Right. So right now I am a peer recovery coach. Um, I When I first got clean, I had an interest in this line of work, but I really didn't know how to go about it, the ins and outs of it. And God made a way for that too. At the time when I was least looking for that at that very moment, He opened it up and just made a way for that to happen. So I love my job. I look forward to coming to work every single day. I like every single person that I meet through my job. So,
Describe a day in general. What does that look like as a peer recovery coach?
well, we're basically here to provide support to people in whatever way we can. If it's, pointing towards help with resources, if it's someone walking in our office saying, I I really think I need to go to rehab. Then I start verifying their insurance, looking for a rehab that, has an open bed, and I try to offer the client a lot of encouraging words and how much better life will be when they get through this rough patch right now. You
You
know?
you can tell them in a very personal way that's been your personal story.
That's right, and I don't share my whole story with each client by any
Sure.
means, but I do let them know, I've been where you are and I understand.
Enough that they can automatically let down their guard. They know you're listening with an ear that's been there, done that, and has the scars to prove it.
That's right, there's no judgment here. I just want what I know is waiting for them on the other side of their addiction.
I love the term, there's no judgment here.
Yeah.
That's an issue we have as a society and a culture.
Yeah.
It's not a question of, is addiction right or wrong? It's truly a question of, does that person matter to us? And either they do or they don't. And
That's right.
I I hope I'm sincerely honest with this. I don't believe I've ever met anyone who wasn't worthy of a second chance, help, support, resourcing, guidance, mentorship, whatever that might mean, much like you're involved with
Yeah.
there. So I think that's extremely important. Um, let's say there's somebody out of here in our audience. And folks, if you have any questions or comments, shoot them to us. Get them over here to us through Facebook or YouTube, and we'll respond to those. But Melissa, what would you tell somebody who wants to pursue the journey of becoming a peer recovery coach? What do they need to do?
Um, so basically, there is a course that you can take to become certified. And you just need to have a heart to want to help others, just show up and be encouraging and, genuinely care for every person that you meet.
And there are so many more recovery organizations today than there were years back, to where there are many opportunities to become employed through that and to celebrate your present by sharing your past with those who are of that similar need and that similar involvement. What do you see today as triggers that concern you, for you, that I've got to stay away from this? No, I can't do this. I can't do that. What are some of those in your life? And I know this varies from person to person.
Right. So I learned through my journey of recovery that I'm just someone who needs to stay busy. I'm always doing something. So staying busy, obviously helps, you preoccupy your mind and, you're accomplishing something worthwhile versus, the alternative. Um, while I always want to help anyone, I definitely watch my people, places, and things. I won't ever put myself in a situation where there's things going on that shouldn't be. Just things like that for
You
the
don't
most part.
tempt yourself with
No.
any opportunity that can cause the fall.
That's right, because it only takes one time.
That's it. I've always said there are 18 steps to a 20-foot extension ladder. 18 steps going up, one step can take you down.
That's right.
You miss that first one and you can be in a world of hurt.
Right. No matter
sure.
how long you've been sober, you should never test those waters ever again.
Exactly. How would you define recovery?
To me, recovery is a whole new way of life. It's not just not using your drug or drug of choice. I changed everything and I've put together a whole new life. That doesn't mean leaving behind, good friends who are sober or family or anything like that.
Positive influences.
That's right. It's just
Draw
change.
nearer to them.
Right.
Don't rid yourself of them, but draw nearer.
That's right.
Yeah. So what else about recovery? Yeah.
Staying like for me, keeping up with the literature. A lot of people will do their 12 steps and think they're done, but you can go back through those 12 steps way more than one time. So staying in the literature and just kind of reminding yourself of the things, all of the things.
The term people, places, and things, that can either put us on the mountaintop or put us under the mountain, depending on who and how those fit in our lives, for
That's right.
sure. How do you hold yourself accountable?
I have a great support system. Once you take the journey of recovery, and you put yourself out there and you get to meet a lot of new great people. Um, I have wonderful friends that I lean on a lot. Um, and I love to spend time with them and things like that. If I were to ever feel a little squirrely or just need to talk, I have a great support net of people.
So you draw on those positive things around you, seek
Yeah.
them out, and encircle yourself with that.
That's right.
That's important. What are your thoughts or beliefs in harm reduction?
I think that's super important. It's super important.
Okay. I'm going to go one more step with that because I always like
Mhm.
to ask this if I get into this subject. Do you believe in the ultimate goal being abstinence?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that was a quick answer. And wasn't much doubt in your mind
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I do too. And I know there are some who don't necessarily feel the same way, but they're entitled to that. And I'm okay with that. How have you seen the recovery effort change over the past years? Now, you've been clean like 18 months, right?
Right.
Okay. You started 21, 22 years ago kind of thing, yeah?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
how have you seen that recovery effort change?
Well, I think it's obviously a much greater, in my opinion, as time goes by. It seems to become a greater and greater epidemic. So people talk about it more, they know about it more. Um, I know that personally, like when I go to meetings, there are a lot of people there, and for people who can't make it to in-person meetings, they have different apps where you can do virtual meetings. So it kind of meets people wherever they are.
The possibilities are so much greater. Our organization, A Better Life Brand, is Hope, our parent umbrella over our Faith in Your Recovery podcast, started 10 years ago this November. And that was before all the coalitions. That was before peer recovery coaches. They're actually rather new in the game, like 3 or 4 years. I'm not sure which, but in that
Right.
general area. I can remember when we started, there's no way there would have been a podcast like this. You didn't mention addiction aloud as you've been doing and as I've been doing and so many others, and you just drew attention to that a moment ago. You had to whisper that your child or spouse or loved one had an addiction issue, and it had to be kept on the down low. Mental health was very much the same way, and we're learning, and I'd like to see it happen faster, but it's happening, and that's the important thing. And I believe over the next 10 years, we'll look back and go how archaic we were in 2024.
Right.
And I don't know that we're ever going to reach that point of there not being a need for our services. I'd love that. But I'm convinced that as we settle in with some type of recovery over drug A, B, and C, D, E, and F are coming along, and it's
Yeah.
going to be something different. We talk about it. We've reached a point we think we've got a hold on it, but 10 years ago, we had no idea what was going to be today.
Right.
And here we are. So we'll continue to work at that. What would you suggest to those who are battling the battle with addiction and substance use disorder as coping skills that they need to maintain or at least practice to help them keep their sobriety and their soberness?
I think that it's different for every person, obviously. Staying connected with meetings and others that are sober is one of the most important things. Going to meetings, even if you're still kind of using but wanting to quit, if you go to the meetings and you get to meet others who are in recovery and they can talk about some of their situations and what they've been through, and those people can see that there is hope, like we do recover.
I've often heard it said that the opposite of addiction is connection.
Yeah.
And that's where you started that off there. Yes, that is so important. Can you give us another coping skill? That's an excellent one.
Well, I mean, again, everyone's different, trying to make yourself more available to do productive things, kind of occupy your time with good things, not the other.
Keep direction.
Right.
All right. Yeah. Keep that positive direction out in front of you and strive to get there at all times.
Right.
Can you throw out one more?
Setting goals for yourself.
There you go.
Things like that. That's really important. We all need things to work towards, and when you achieve that, then you work towards something different.
Whether you're in addiction or not, that's
Yeah.
an important asset for your life.
It is.
What is a goal that you have for the future? Now you've reached this sobriety, you've maintained it 18 months, you've got an occupation that you
Yeah.
enjoy, obviously look forward to, that you have committed to. What's another goal that's out in front of you?
I would say so. I was 3 years without a vehicle. I just recently got one of those. I just recently moved into my own place about 6 weeks ago. So, my next goals are gonna be, saving for the future. I would love to own a home again. That's something that's really important to me.
Well, as far as you've come, I can see that happening. Boy, these days you stay on this general pathway, okay? And yeah, you keep that direction and you stay with your own program and continue to work it. And 5 years from now, I'll check in on you somehow. And
That's
we'll
right.
see where you're at with that. All
We'll
right.
see.
Congratulations to you for getting there.
Thank you.
I remember doing an interview early on with an individual who had lost their license and vehicle. The day they came for their interview was their first day with their license.
Oh, that's awesome.
And they had borrowed a vehicle to get here, but it was as I recall, 45-minute drive. And they talked about what a thrill it was to make that drive, to look in the rear view mirror and to see what was before them and just how much that meant to them as their first drive coming here to share their stories. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, we appreciate that coming from you as well. What else is there, Melissa, you'd like the folks to know about you, about recovery, sobriety? Yeah, what else can you tell them?
For folks who may still be in their addiction, I want them to know that you may feel like there are people out there that don't care about you, but there are. And there is a beautiful life waiting for you in recovery.
Earlier, you had said on the other side,
Yeah.
Recovery.
Yeah.
And I like that thought. The river's muddy and murky on this side, but if we can get to the other side, there's some clearer water. Maybe not the best example, but I'm sure you know what I mean.
I
And,
do, and it's a long process. Things didn't get bad overnight, so they're not going to be perfect overnight. You have to keep doing the next right thing. Don't lose sight of your end goal. Just never give up.
Is there any way you would trade your worst day in recovery for your best day in addiction?
Absolutely not.
Wow. I I knew that'd be the answer,
Yeah.
but I wanted to ask that because it's something to think about. Even folks, your worst day in recovery is far greater than your best day in addiction. And I've yet to meet someone in recovery who wanted to go back to the pain, the struggle, the withdrawals, the losses, the challenges. That list goes on and on. I'm going to wrap this up here with a question. Title of our podcast, Faith in Your Recovery. You've told us about your relationship with God and the difference that's made. But define that title for you, Faith in Your Recovery. What does that mean, Melissa?
For me, without being able to draw back to God where I belong and know that He has everything that I need, I just need to open my life to Him. Without Him, I wouldn't be in recovery.
Where do you think you'd be? Or do you even
I
want to think?
definitely would not be here. People found me 6 different times when I had overdosed. If it not for them, but I know God was, at the lead of that, I wouldn't be here.
I've heard the comment, we all have another party in us. We don't know if we have another chance
That's
at
right.
recovery. the next overdose, the next anything could be the last one. There's no guarantee. We're glad you're here. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for what you've shared with us, your honesty and your forthrightness. Anything you'd like to add before we close off here?
Just thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the time, and I just want people to know that there's a better life for you.
Amen. You know, that draws attention to something, as I recall in some of the information we have on you. Was it you or was it somebody else's who I looked at? This is your first time to share.
This is my very first time to share any part of my story, so I'm super excited about it.
I want people to know that, and the way you've handled yourself, you can't tell that.
Well, thank you.
But your willingness, and there again, that's got to work. Do you feel as nervous now as you did earlier before we started?
No, it's a whole lot better.
It's rather painless, right?
That's right.
We try to keep it that way. Well, I'll tell you what, folks, once again, we're thrilled you've been here with us on Faith in Your Recovery. We invite you to subscribe, to like, to get involved. We're going to be back with you next week. We're thankful for Melissa Terry and her willingness to share and all that she's about. And if you have an interest in getting in a program, make a contact with us. We'll see about making that happen. Between now and then, God bless. Thanks. Take care. Stay in the battle.